Hi everyone, good afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Teresa Wright. I am a board certified family physician with an interest in lifestyle and health changes, and also with an interest in geriatric medicine. Hey Shaman. And I just wanted to say that today during church, my pastor, Pastor Tony, talked about suicide. Now, he did have another message prepared, and last night after his prayer session, he felt compelled to talk about this topic. I commend him for that because it is a very hard topic to talk about. It's a very complex topic. It's a very complicated topic, and it has more facets than many people give it credence. I've seen on Facebook over the past couple of days, of course, broad, sweeping, general statements about suicide and about and certain judgments and things like that. And as a medical professional, I feel like it is my place to just remind us all to be careful of your words. Your words are triggering. Your words can be hurtful. Your words can be harmful until you have actually stepped into someone's place. And I don't mean that you had a few days of depression one time a few years ago. I don't mean, hey Tonetta, I don't mean that you had a bout of depression or sadness or a moment of feeling really bad after something significant like a death or a breakup. But until you've really walked in someone's shoes, it's really important that we watch our words. It's so vital because you never know who you're triggering. And Facebook is notorious, and social media in general is notorious for giving us a voice behind a screen where we get to say things that we don't get to take credit for or take the blame for. And so it's your choice at the end of the day to be kind, to be loving, to be compassionate, to be a voice for the voiceless. If you choose the other route, just know that you're not part of the solution. You're not being helpful. You're only being critical. And there's no point in being a critic if you're not going to offer solutions. That's my 2 cents on that. I want to say this on top of all of that. One of the things that Pastor Tony touched on, which was really important for me, was that he did talk about, the old school bullying, the jive talking, the talking smack, the yo mama type stuff. He did bring that up a little bit in regards to himself. And that touched me a little bit because, believe it or not, before I was saved and sanctified, I was a little bit of a bully. Now, it's hard to say that now with a straight face because it's hard to admit that you weren't always the nice one. It's hard to admit that you weren't always the right one or the kind one or the compassionate one. Now, as a teenager, I didn't realize it, but I was very defensive and I would always try to attack first so that I wouldn't be hurt, if that makes sense. And so part of being on the attack all the time is that you wind up becoming, unbeknownst to yourself, a little bit of a bully or sometimes a big bully. So the moral of the story is a few years ago, my then fiance, now my husband, Brian, and I traveled back to my home country. Well, you met me in church, Shaman, that's why. But, outside of church in high school, I wasn't the nicest to some people. Now, it wasn't always everybody, but it was some people. But a few years ago, my husband and I, yes, I was outspoken, and that was part of it. I would speak my mind and defend myself almost to the death. But we traveled back to my country, St. Kitts, and we met some folks that I'd been friends with in the past. And one person in particular said, you were really mean to me in high school. You weren't very nice to me growing up. And it really hurt my feelings. Now, I'm in my 30s. And I knew exactly what this person was talking about. I knew the instances. I'd always, deep down in my heart, wondered if I had been not so nice. And there it was. It was out there. She said it in front of myself and my future fiance, my future husband, whatever. And so it was really heart-wrenching to hear someone say that, but also to see yourself the way someone else saw you. And it broke my heart for a couple of days because I'm not that person. I used to be that person, but I'm not that person. And people who know me now who didn't know me then don't know that side of me. And so it was a reminder that we leave a trail of brokenness sometimes. And sometimes we know about it deep down. There's these little pings in our hearts that tell us, and sometimes we don't know about it. But it's our responsibility as grown-ups, as adults with consciences, to see the problem, rectify it, and try not to perpetuate that in our young ones. I don't have children, but it is my goal to point everyone in the direction of love, kindness, happiness, and joy. And so once I got over my heartbreak, you know, for want of a better word, I apologized to this young lady. I said, you know what, you were right. I was not very nice to you. I'm no longer that person. Forgive me. And then I could think of 2 or 3 other people that I probably need to apologize to as my life progresses. And I'm sure along the way, even though I'm not that person, because I am still very outspoken, as my friend has pointed out, I do still sometimes, in the vein of truth or in the vein of being right, leave a trail of brokenness. And so sometimes there's an apology that has to come with that once your heart has been set right and once you know, your spirit is revealed for what it is. I say that to say it won't fix a broken person who has a chemical imbalance or who has a mental disorder, but if we all took responsibility for the brokenness that we leave behind us, it can fix those people that are just looking for a home, that are just looking for a friend, that are just looking for some comfort or some validation. It can fix some of those people. And it's important to note that the BBC just put out an article that I read. It was 1 day ago, but the article essentially says that 54% of suicides is not by someone who was previously diagnosed with a mental disorder. So let's not pretend like it's all mentally ill people that are committing suicides. Sometimes it's folks who never had a problem that we know about, of course, but something triggered them, something broke them, something hurt them. This is not a video about justifying. It's just a video saying that if we all examine ourselves, we know that part of us that's not always been very nice. And we know that part of us that's not always been very kind. And we know that part of us that's not always been very there for those people. Don't let it continue to be that part of you that excels, that thrives. That part of you needs to die so that a better part of you, a much more successful, joyful, loving part of you that gives life and not contribute to taking lives, is what thrives. And on top of all of that, I mean, I could say a whole bunch more about the topic. I want you all to know that I'm not just speaking from a place of emptiness or from a place of philosophy or just because suicides have been happening. This is a topic that's dear to me because, as I said, I'm a physician, so I deal with this on a regular basis in terms of I do have to ask the question on a daily basis. Are you having thoughts of hurting yourself? Are you having thoughts of hurting anyone else? And believe me, when I ask this question, I'm holding my breath because I really don't want the answer to be yes. Hey, cousin Nadia, but more times than not, the answer is no. But guess what? Every once in a while, the answer is yes. And that long breath hold that I'm holding, I have to exhale and I have to move because I have to do something. And the last time I had to do this, I had to call the police. I had to get this person detained, I had to get them hospitalized and get them on the right medicines. And that person told me months later, thank you for doing that. That changed my life. Not everyone will say yes, but I see this enough in my daily life where I could say, sometimes folks just need to be asked. And even if you have to hold your breath, and even if you have to dread the answer, sometime in the asking, you will save a life. The second thing I want to say that qualifies me in a sense to talk about this is a few years ago, as a young physician, I did a month-long rotation in the morgue. Ask me why. I like to know what happened. I'm that person that wants to know what happened. So I did a morgue rotation. You know, some folks would call it forensic pathology rotation. And what I learned in that little morgue is that every day someone kills themselves. It's not publicized. It's not on the radio. You won't see it on the newspapers. You won't see it on social media. But every day that I was there, for the most part, we had 1 to 2 suicides that no one ever talked about. It was something that just happened. And I could tell you that the day I touched a still warm body of someone who had just committed suicide and did an autopsy on them was the hardest thing I ever had to do. So be nice, Be kind. I've seen it on the living and I've seen it on the dead. It's not pretty. It's not cool. It's not something that social media could ever justify in a few sentences, a few posts, a few "I'll pray for you," a few tweets. Nothing could capture the hurt and the heartbreak of the folks who feel that this is the option, and of the family that's left behind in the wake of this. That's all I have to say. I'm gonna have more as the Lord leads. Be blessed. Bye.